Welcome back, and today we're going to be looking at a little more of Fire Emblem IV, as per a few great suggestions. I'm going to do 4 tracks again, sort of rapid fire, just like the last video, and going to see what I think of them. Nice to return to and mix up the sound of the type of music that I'm looking at, and I'm actually excited to hear a little more SNES stuff. This first track is called Versus Alvis, or Arvis, depending on localization, and I think this is... Actually, I don't know if this is a chapter theme, but regardless, maybe I expect it to be something from a battle. I mean, it says verses, so I would think so. But also, I think the other tracks that come from the main fights in the game do have like a chapter label for them, like several of them from the last video did, so maybe it's not actually a main battle theme. It's quite short, and a lot of these have repeats as well, so that also means it might not be a main battle track, so we'll see. We'll see what the feel is like. But I have no clue what to expect, so let's check it out. Okay, it's me. I have to just appreciate the fact that I was not expecting an organ intro like that. Interesting. So it's I don't know. At first I was just like, oh, it's gonna lay down just like an organ layer for the background, but then it just becomes just a little intro. But yeah, it gets pretty dark pretty quickly. It has that suspension, but it doesn't resolve it. Instead, it does this scale downwards into the rest of the piece. I don't know. That was... I'm already surprised. Like I did not expect that was what I was gonna hear at the start of this track. And then right into some percussion comes in with energy. So maybe it is a battle track. What an awesome bass line. I like the dynamics going in and out just a little bit on those repeated notes. And now we transition that to a lower layer. I'm assuming this is the loop. I'll preview the rest, but I do want to talk about it a bit more. Man, it's actually quite like interesting instrumentation for this era of music. I mean, there are lots of great examples of creative instrumentation, especially on the SNES, but still, a just kind of surprising blend of choices. We get a little organ at the start. We get some really good sounding piano actually in it in terms of the sample. You know, we get some horns here and have that you know, electric bass kind of sound and some percussion. It's just a cool mix of sounds, but what really stands out to me the most, let me go back a bit and remind myself. I guess that's kind of a stair-stepping up and down, but for the most part, a lot of the other themes are very like, you could just say arpeggiated, I guess, but I feel like they're more cyclical. Like there's a lot of just circular going up and down in a pattern. Even if it, you know, breaks it and does like a back and forth kind of stepping down. But otherwise, pretty much everything in here, I think, is sort of circular motions. See this part, it like just kind of repeats that arpeggio, kind of climbs down from above. And here it's again this kind of like circular ostinato. And then we lay down these repeated notes, but then when it brings in the horns, it also is circular. Yeah, I mean, or at least it climbs straight and then back down. Like part of it is just like arc-shaped melody, which is really normal, but I don't know. It stood out to me a little bit extra that it seemed to be choosing more to like repeat these arpeggiated cells a bunch, and then even when it comes in with a different melody and different instrument, it then there's like a mental connection to the fact that like, oh, they did just repeat these very small like arpeggiated cells that have a directionality, and then this next melody like pretty much goes straight up climbing in a very like uniform way and then comes back down, which normally wouldn't be like anything to notice too much out of a normal melody, but like just because they created that context with those sort of little melodic cells, it made me notice it a little bit more. Yeah, I'm gonna listen through the rest. Appreciate it if it's just a loop. I don't always listen to loops, but I don't know if it is one. It's just a fun interplay with the bass line. Like, it just feels very rhythmic. Like, it's comfortable, but it has a nice rhythmic feel, and then I don't know, this horn melody gives a huge contrast to it. Like, it's almost trying to be kind of minimalist, not just because of the technology available, but like it feels like it's making choices to, you know, repeat smaller cells and to be like there's a sparseness of that the uniformity of the horn melody, and it just, I don't know, it wants to sound very like precisely situated. I don't know, it's aware that it's trying to, it's not really interested in trying to create a whole bunch of like melodic variation. I mean, I guess like why would you necessarily be trying to in like a 40-second loop? But I don't know. I think it does what you basically can do with this short track, and chooses a like perfect selection of some instruments and uses them in ways that are rhythmically interesting, and even creates a little bit of its own musical personality with the choices it has for the motion of its melodies and its different instrumental layers. Anyways, that is 1 down out of 4. I'm going to check out the next one on the list. Let me just pull it up. Switch back to my face for a second. Called Girl of the Forest, which is the Chapter 1 theme, I believe. And let's pull this back up. All right, let's see. This might be more like the chapter themes that I heard in the last video, because I think I did, I don't know, chapters 4 and 5 or something. I actually have no recollection of what numbers they were, but it definitely wasn't chapter 1. And this is supposedly Girl of the Spirit Forest, or whatever the localization would translate it to, from chapter 1. So probably the first like main background music you hear while you're really playing the game and doing the tactical sections. So we'll see. This might be like, could be a composer putting their best foot forward in terms of you know, setting the musical identity of the game. So I'm really curious what they're gonna do in this one. So let's check it out. These tracks have great intros. That does sound very Fire Emblem. I wonder how much that gets used in the later soundtracks. Again, there's something kind of ballad-like in it, just like in some of the other tracks. Like if you replace this with a voice singing this, I'd be like, yeah, this could be some like 80s, you know, Japanese ballad. God, this also really makes me want to play the game, because I would love to be listening to this in game. Interesting a break on the loop, like maybe a little very immediate, just hitting this synth wall and then right into the loop. I wonder if it loops that way in the game. I would love to know. It's a bold choice for sure. It's like you know, like sometimes you see people in like modern short videos who, you know, try really hard to like see if they can disguise the loop, and like there's an art to that, or making a video loop pretty well. But like sometimes there's a lot of effort that goes into that, and sometimes it's like, hey, why even bother disguising the loop? It's right here. Who cares? In fact, why not make it even more noticeable? So it's just funny to hear like this is blast this synth chord and just let's go back to the start. It's also really great sounding harmony, and it's kind of interesting that when you go back to the loop, like it doesn't feel like that harmony necessarily like has a particular reason why it supports returning back to the start of the piece like well in a harmonic sense. But obviously you can do whatever you want with harmony, like it doesn't really matter, and a lot of times people find it more interesting when you go away from convention there and pick it up, or they notice it as seeming pretty cool. You know, a lot of musicians are obsessed with that. So in a way, it's like the fact that it almost feels like it doesn't prepare the loop back to the beginning harmony at all almost makes it just more interesting, because like who's to say how intentional or not intentional it is? Who's to say like this is a how much of a choice it is? And since we can't say, might as well be open to the possibility that it is. And if you feel open to that, then well, it's kind of cool, because it's, you know, it's a harmonic jump for sure, but it's a cool chord, and it makes you think about, well, like what relationship does it have to the beginning of the piece? And I wonder if like these intros, like there's the organ intro in the piece we just listened to, and there's this sort of strings climb in this one. I wonder, like, do you actually hear that right at the beginning of the statement of these themes in the game, and then never again while it just does whatever it needs to during the loop? Or maybe after these 2 minutes and 19 seconds, we get this intro again, or maybe this intro only exists on like the OST, and in game it never plays this intro. I'm kind of curious about that, and I could probably like look up a Let's Play right now and like peek at it, and maybe I'll do that in my own time and answer my own question. But yeah, it does. Whenever I see like, you know, the more I look at game OSTs, and I mean I've been hearing them in game for my whole life, but the more I listen to them like in a focused way, the more I find myself inevitably thinking about like, what is this in the game and how close is it to what I'm hearing on the OST? As I like to bring up, like it might be dynamic and might shift like between different versions of the music based on what's happening in the game. Like something might be responsive to it. Again, like how does it loop? Like does it have an intro or a coda/outro? Or are those specially composed for the OST? Is it even maybe rearranged structurally for the OST? Yeah, it really makes you like wonder, mostly because it determines like how you're talking about the piece structurally. Because it can feel like maybe it's a little like it's not entirely fair to like look too much at like how the OST track works in certain structural ways, when that might really not be the true identity of the piece of music. Like this isn't its home. It lives in the game, and it's made a certain way for the game. Anyways, I like there's it. How do I say this? Again, like it's kind of like this Japanese like pop ballad-ish feel that one of the other tracks from Fire Emblem IV also had, which is, I don't know, there is something very Fire Emblem about it, even if it's like an external reference of what it makes me feel like it sounds like. But what it comes with is like a very, it's a very like positive, almost like happy sound. So in the context of a game, you know, usually around war and battle and sort of medieval, it gives a different feel because you're not in the 1980s in the city listening to a pop song. Like, so hearing some of those elements musically gives, especially near the beginning of a game like Fire Emblem, where typically that means you're starting off, the stakes are a little lower, like maybe there's been some drama, but like the characters are developing, they might even be a little bit idealistic or even young. Like it brings a little bit of like the, sort of serves the purpose to remind the player and to line up with maybe where the characters are at, that like adventure is still a little bit fun at this point. Like it's war, but it's also like feels like a little more of a game at this point before the narrative builds its stakes into higher drama or tragedy eventually in the story, and the character arcs like develop. But yeah, I'm gonna just listen to a little bit more of it before I move on, because I want to remind myself. Yeah, it just got these like bold, comfy chords. again, this very vocal melody with the synth. And it's also like classic kind of drums and bass supporting it. It gives it that very, very song feeling. A little bit of sort of a sentimental melody. And then I think we bring in this like harp arpeggio. Yeah. Which sounds just surprisingly good. Like, and I wish it went on longer, but of course it's a short piece. And it does actually get picked up by this the string section. It transitions from the harp to the strings. It passes the instrument. Yeah, it picks up the same arpeggiation in the strings there, so it keeps it, but it just changes it away from the harp. But the harp sounded so good, like on this in this format. It actually was really clear, which is neat. Anyways, let's check out track number 3 for today. Do my transition here, and this is. Let's see if I can find it again. I did find these all in advance. Okay, this is one called Lover 1 off of the OST, track number 81. There's a number of them that are called Lover something, so they might be like love themes from the game at different points. It might be the same theme, like at different points of arrangement, which would be kind of cool. Maybe I didn't want to spoil it, or I might have peeked ahead to see like if it was interesting to compare those themes. But I'm guessing they're just, it's a title of like a certain type of piece in the OST that isn't necessarily descriptive of like what it is, or that all of the Lover X tracks are like the same. Anyways, so as with all the other ones from this OST, I'm expecting it to be like a 40-second bit. And let's see, I'm really curious if this is going to be more romantic as like this sort of title would imply, and not like a battle theme. We'll see. I'm really curious. That's really not what I was expecting. Almost like kind of French. That's kind of gentle papa. I guess this could be a waltz, actually. Very cool. I love bringing the percussion back in like that. It's like just a very peaceful, like, kind of evening waltz is what I would call it. It's funny, in FF15 we just did a piece called Sunset Waltz, but that feels very different from this. This really feels like an evening waltz. But like an evening in the city. Yeah, I mean, no need to even stop it at a loop there. I don't even know if it did really loop. I think it did, but it was very hard to tell in this case, which is funny compared to the last piece where it was like, here is the loop. We're going to tell you. And in this one, it's like, I really wasn't sure. Let me see if I can find where it was. Now that definitely wasn't it, because this was a bit of a variation on the melody. Yeah, I don't think that was from the beginning. Oh, it is. I completely forgot. That is how it opened. So that is the loop, but just because of the sort of meter of this like waltz pattern, it just completely snuck in. So where did it happen? Right there. Okay. It almost feels like it happens like halfway during that melodic statement. So it makes you not think it would be the loop point, but it is. But it like feels like it's in the middle of something. Yeah, that note, da da da, and that da is where it loops back to the beginning. But yeah, because it doesn't stop the pattern, stop the melodic rhythm, it feels like it's just continuing. Actually, a great way to do that loop. Like, and again, like I mentioned, talking about like you don't really know the level of intentionality when you listen to music typically, unless you have like a statement from a composer. Even then, they might not necessarily even know for sure why they did things, but usually that would be definitive. But since you don't know, you might as well have the possibility open that something's intentional. This is like very strong evidence that there can be a pretty impressively subtle and hidden loop, even like artistically hidden, if they want it. So it makes it even more interesting that it just did a synth wall on that interesting chord that like just jumped back to the start in the previous piece. Yeah, just brings a lot of evidence to being a choice in each piece how it does loop. It also might have to do something with the game or the brief for like what that piece needs to be or where it is in the game. Like that might also determine it more than say the composer. Some pieces maybe need to loop a certain way and some don't. Some want to be a very clean cycle and some of them don't need to be. And that might not always be the composer's choice. Yeah, it is really just this cozy evening, picture the kind of golden hour in Paris. Like that's the kind of thing that this makes me think of. And it drops out the percussion a little bit, I think, in a moment. Yeah, or it slows down the rhythm a bit. Gets a little more contemplative for a sec. A little bit dreamy. And then it brings it all back in that cool way, and then you're back to dancing. And then it loops right there, which is funny. I really wouldn't have noticed before. Yeah, I like this a lot. I haven't really heard anything quite like this sort of, I don't know, this like calming kind of waltz sound on a SNES soundtrack, with that kind of like instrumentation that is, again, it feels like you're in like fin de siècle, like Paris or something, or even Vienna, but like it's not a classical waltz, but it still is. But it feels like more modern than that, but not completely modern. It's like turn of the century. I don't know. It's a very cool feeling that I haven't had from music, like SNES music before. So I really like that. All right, let's check out one more thing, which is just the recruitment theme from the game, which obviously I won't expect too much from, but I don't know. I've heard some tracks, some little random tracks from Fire Emblem games that are actually pretty dope. So let's see if I can find this. It seems like there's a few here. I'm just going to grab this one. About a minute long on all of them. It's like a 30-minute version, which means people like it enough to loop it. All right, let's check out the recruitment theme. I have a feeling this could be very fun. Even if it's simple, I don't know, like sometimes those themes are the most addictive ones. Like there's this little looping theme, sort of a primary thing you hear in the first front mission game. And like it's short. It might even be like, I don't know, probably under a minute of a loop, maybe under 30 seconds of a loop. It might even been like a 15-second loop, but it's so good. It's just like while you're at the shops in between the levels. And it is one of the catchiest like loops of music I've heard. It's so good. I wish I knew what it's called so I could tell you to go listen to it. But so yeah, let's see what this is. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Just snappy, catchy, groovy. I can see why people are listening to this on very long loops on YouTube. Damn. It's just such a fun vibe. it's just completely groovy. I love these little whole note intervals being hit in some of these lines on the keys. It just, you know, very not traditional, not completely untraditional harmony, but it's moved forward a bit. And that intro's super fun, just like all these other pieces. It's got a really distinctive intro before it goes into the piece that loops. And I really wonder, like, do you keep hearing that? And then for a moment it sounds very Fire Emblem with those descending strings. Again, you've got those a little bit classical, like, moving synth strings, but then we just drop out, it's a little more syncopated. This classic kind of supporting bass and that drum sound. Yeah, it's very addictive. It's hard not to just keep listening to it. And but yeah, I wonder again, like, you know, this beginning is also really catchy and really fun and energizes it. But then I would assume it wouldn't keep looping that, and that if you listen to this for like hours because you love it, like, you probably don't get to hear this intro again. Could be wrong. Maybe it like does go back to that at some point. And again, I don't know if it plays that even in the game. But man, this really is one of those earworms. It really is. And in fact, I actually do want to find, because I mentioned I want to find the front mission music. Because it's another kind of just like groovy, like passive music in the game. Is that also SNES? It might be. Is it just this? It is this. Okay. All right, so this is what I was mentioning from Front Mission on the SNES. I think it's like an even shorter loop. It's really short. And again, just like between missions, you're at the shops. And it's not exactly like quite the same genre, but it has the same effect. It's just groovy, it's comfy, it's catchy. You could listen to it all day. Honestly, you know, there are some like rhythmic things, there's some elements that are actually kind of similar between the two. And I think that's the loop after it kind of steps up a little bit in the melody there. So it's like less than 20 seconds, or about 20 seconds. But man, it's so addictive. Oh wait, no, it does this. I forgot about that. Okay, it's a little bit longer. Man, I forgot how good this is. I forgot this melody actually goes places a little bit. Oh, it's so great. I think this is the loop point. So, you know, more of a 40-second thing, which seems common on the SNES, actually. A lot of them are 40 seconds. I wonder if there's something about, like, the length of a track that works well in the system. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to show that because it was on the mind with the recruitment theme, and I think it was a good pull. I think these connect in a way. Okay, sorry, I didn't want that to play again, but I did want to put on quietly a longer loop of it. Where is it? I thought I found like a super long loop. Here it is, 30 minutes. There we go. All right, I am going to drop some of these on my chill nostalgia. Which ones do I want to pick? Which ones did I like best? What do I think would work well on a playlist? I think what did I go through today? I had versus Arvis, Girl of the Spirit Forest, Lover 1 recruitment theme. Oh yeah, okay. I know what I want. I think out of these, I'm gonna pick Lover 1. I think that's the one that I felt would fit best with going back and listening more to. Actually, I think the first one I am gonna put on here as well. Fire Emblem IV versus Arvis. slash Alvis. I think that's going to be what I do. I'm going to drop these two into my nostalgia playlist. You know, someday I will make these playlists and have them publicly available on YouTube, and people can listen to the tracks that I picked from my listening sessions, and yeah, I can listen to the mixes that I end up with from the stuff I like best. Anyways, thank you for watching another one of my videos. I hope you had fun checking out some more SNES music with me. And you know, I'm thinking like I wish I was looping the front mission music right now, but they're both great. It's just now I've got that on the brain, but it's like it's a Fire Emblem video. I can't close it out with front mission. And maybe I'll listen to more of that music another time, because I only really know the start of the first game. And I still remember that piece. Yeah, I hope you had a good time. I will see you guys in the next video for probably back and forth, probably back to something more modern. And I'll see you then. Till then, peace. Have a good day.